Who? Jesus Christ. All right, so this guy right here is Moses. This is him as a kid, and this is middle-aged Moses. Hey, I was cute when I was young too, guys. Anyway, the problem is Moses is a Jew. Back then, what did Pharaoh declare in Egypt? He wanted all the baby boys thrown into the Nile River. But Moses was a Jew, right? So Pharaoh's daughter, the princess, finds him, brings him home, and basically lies to her dad, raising him as if he weren't a Jew. But Moses himself knew he was Jewish. He knew, but if he went around announcing it, his life would be in danger. So he kept his mouth shut and quietly grew up as the son of the princess. At the time in Egypt, the Jewish people were basically treated like slaves. They were dragged off to forced labor, hauling a ridiculous amount of bricks. You've seen those old pictures, right? The ones of people getting whipped while building the pyramids. The Egyptians were working the Jews to the bone. And one day, Moses witnesses his fellow Jews getting whipped and going through hell. I mean, he's a prince, right? As the son of the princess, he's living a pretty lavish life, riding premium camels and horses, wearing fancy, glittering gold clothes, the loincloth-looking things. But the other Jews are dressed in rags, working their asses off. He sees this, and he already knows he's a Jew. He knows he's Jewish, and they're Jewish, and he sees them getting whipped and suffering. He should have just held it in. He really should have. But our boy Moses, our hot-headed, righteous Moses, just couldn't take it. He sees the Egyptian overseer whipping them and just knocks the guy out cold. The second he messed the guy up, it was instant chaos. "We have to catch that bastard Moses! That son of a bitch was a Jew all along!" Everyone from the pharaoh to the princess's household went into a frenzy. The princess got chewed out by her dad, like, how could you raise someone like that? And all of Egypt was in an uproar, shouting, "We gotta catch that guy Moses!" So obviously Moses makes a run for it. To where? Right here, modern-day Israel. And he made a clean getaway. He got away, and he even got married. He was living a good life after getting married. But then he starts hearing a voice. It's like a broadcast saying, "Moses, how could you just leave by yourself? Your fellow Jews are all going through hell. You need to go back right now and bring them out." It was an order from God. So Moses hears God's order and heads back to Egypt. He has to go meet Pharaoh because God gave him the order. He tells Pharaoh exactly what God told him to say. "Hey, stop using God's people as slaves for your labor. Release our Jewish people, the chosen people of God, the ones who will be saved right now." And of course, Pharaoh's response is basically, "Yeah, get lost. Some random guy with no army, no nothing, just shows up and tells me to free them? Who's going to agree to that?" So Moses tells him again, "Oh, you won't let them go? Fine. God's going to use his 10 cheat codes to totally wreck you. Before God unleashes 10 plagues on you, you better free my people." That's what he says. And what do you think Pharaoh said this time? Yeah, screw off. Pharaoh just blows him off again. And right after that, God's 10 cheat codes, the 10 plagues of God, actually start to happen. The Nile River turns to blood. Frogs are absolutely everywhere. Bullfrogs croaking like crazy. Swarms of locusts eat all the crops. Darkness covers Egypt for 3 whole days. And it's written in the Bible that all the firstborn sons in every family started to die. So after getting hit with this 10-plague combo, Pharaoh's like, my bad, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize, I surrender, I'm sorry." And with that, Moses starts leading the entire Jewish population out of there, toward the place that God had told them about. But as they're leaving, it turns out this guy's petty as hell. Pharaoh says he's sorry and tells them to go, but later on he thinks about it and gets pissed. He's like, "Why the hell should I let them go? What have those bastards ever done for me?" He gets super angry, can't let it go, and starts chasing after them.
Moses and the Jews were making a good escape. They were running well, but now the Egyptians are chasing them like crazy. They're thinking, oh, we're so screwed. They're running for their lives, and what's in front of them? The Red Sea. And this, my friends, is the famous miracle of Moses. This is where Moses prays to God, the Red Sea splits wide open, and the miracle of Moses happens, allowing all the Jewish people to escape. And with the most insane timing, just as the last of the Jews cross, the waters crash back together, and all the Egyptian soldiers are swept away and die. That story is the famous miracle of Moses.
With the miracle of Moses, the masses of Jewish people and Moses cross the Red Sea. All of them make it across. But then Moses leads the Jews to wander in the desert for 40 years. What does this mean? If you look at the Sinai Peninsula here, it's basically a wasteland. Almost no grass grows here. It's a desert, and it's incredibly hard for people to survive here. But the Bible records that Moses led the Jews and wandered through this very place for 40 long years. This is where the faith of the Jewish people is forged. What are the 40 years in the wilderness? What do you think? It's pure, hellish suffering. The idea is that all this suffering, wandering for 40 years, is God's will. It's like this. The reason we're going through all this crap is because we are the only people in the world who will be saved. So God is giving us, the Jewish people, these extra hardships and trials. But despite it all, you will be saved later and go to heaven when you die. So you have to endure this suffering. There is a deep, profound meaning from God in all of this. That's how they think. So because of this, all the things the Jewish people have gone through, even up to Hitler's Holocaust, they see all of it as God's will. All this hardship and persecution is happening because God specifically chose us. And from this, the chosen people ideology develops. It's like, you guys didn't get picked by God, right? Well, we did. You're state school. I'm Ivy League. You know that kind of vibe? Like, I'm on a whole different level from you. I'm a bit more special. They kind of have that chosen people superiority complex. Anyway, Moses parts the Red Sea, performs his miracle, wanders the desert for 40 years, goes through hell, and then, anyone who goes to church has heard this a million times from their pastor, they head for the land of milk and honey, Canaan. This is the region of Palestine where Israel is today, the land God chose for the Jewish people. They race towards it, and as they go, what happens? They establish a nation. What did they establish? The ancient kingdom of Israel. You all know it, right? The kingdom that lasted for just 3 kings, Saul, David, and Solomon, before it totally collapsed. If you look at the dates, it only lasts from 1048 BC to 930 BC. Anyway, so the ancient kingdom of Israel is established. But the moment Solomon dies, they immediately start fighting each other, trying to seize the throne. As they fight, the kingdom splits into North Israel and South Judah. Then the north gets wiped out by Assyria, and the south gets devoured by Babylon. After this, the Jewish people had no national state of their own, basically not until 1945. After the kingdom of Israel fell, the Jews were scattered beyond the Middle East and Arab regions to places like Egypt and Libya, where they were dragged off as slaves, broken, and executed. That's the life they lived. But despite all that, they held on to the belief that they must only worship the one God, Yahweh. They'd go to another country, and even if that country had a state religion, they'd refuse to follow it, insisting, even as they were dragged away, we must only worship the one God, Yahweh. This just led to them being constantly persecuted. Then a massive empire takes over this whole Middle Eastern and Arab region. What rises? The Roman Empire. The interesting thing about Rome is that it was originally a republic, a democracy. The citizens voted to make laws, hold trials, and decide on national matters. They even had a senate like a congress. It was a very unique system, way ahead of its time. Up until the time of Julius Caesar, there was no emperor in Rome. He was a consul, which is kind of like the prime minister of Japan if you want an analogy. So, up until Caesar, Rome was a republic. But Julius Caesar had an adopted son. And who was that? Augustus. That's who? A very famous guy, right?
This guy, following in his father's footsteps as consul, completely wrecks the successful republic. He declares, from now on, Rome has an emperor. He just torpedoes the whole republican system that had been working so well. Then he starts pulling this line. The emperor is God. Therefore, I am God. God is Augustus. He starts playing the God card. Why on earth would he suddenly pull a ridiculous stunt like that? I mean, as emperor, he's already the absolute ruler, so he could just live the good life. Why go through the trouble of pulling this the emperor is God crap? Think about it. Let's say the harvest completely fails one year. What happens? The people go nuts, shouting, "What has this country ever done for us? These bastards just take our taxes." But what if the masses truly believe the emperor is a god? What happens then? They'd say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We didn't perform the proper rituals or worship you correctly last year, so you have punished us." That's what they do. If the emperor becomes God, you can't dare to oppose him, not once it becomes like a religion. That's the goal. At the time, it wasn't just the Roman Empire. Egypt did it too. There were a lot of rulers who tried to use the ruler is God method to play politics. It makes governing easy. Whether the country goes to hell, falls apart, or people starve to death, you can just say, whatever. It's because you all didn't worship me properly. Don't blame me. And then you can just rule without a care in the world. So there was a reason for all that the emperor is God nonsense. In short, the masses of people in the Roman Empire were forced to believe that the Roman emperor was a god. But like I said before, what about the Jews who believed they must only worship the one God Yahweh, and who already had a long history of trouble in other countries because of their religion? They start to clash, big time. From the Roman Empire's perspective, it was like, what the hell do we do with these damn Jews? Why are they so defiant? If they just gave up their religion and worshiped the emperor as God-fearing Roman citizens, they could live peacefully. But the Jews stubbornly kept shouting, "There is only one God Yahweh. That trashy cult that worships an emperor as God is wrong." So the Roman Empire ordered them to worship the emperor as a god, and there was frequent trouble with the Jews. But while there were these noisy conflicts in the Roman Empire, an era began where things were relatively stable and Rome was somewhat tolerant of the Jewish religion. Until suddenly this person appears. Who? Jesus Christ.